Will Monty Williams coach the Detroit Pistons again, or will he coach in LA with LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers? We'll talk about Monty's future and a lot more in just a moment.
Lane, skies a jam. Dynamite dunk and the crowd loves it.
Back to Pistons Intellect. I'm your host, Jack Kelly. You can follow me on Twitter at Jack_Kelly_313. You can also follow us over on Instagram at Pistons_Intellect. And as always, if you're feeling so kind, please hit that subscribe button. Now, for today's show, in light of a report or a rumor we got this morning, I thought instead of kind of doing the usual thing and focusing on a few topics, I wanted just to focus today on Monty Williams and his future with the Pistons. And I guess his future for next season overall, based on some of the things we've read this week from multiple outlets, and what just basically what's going on with Monty Williams. Now, I want to start off by saying, like, all of these reports, like, it's that time of the year, really, whereas if your team's not playing anymore, there's just tons of news surrounding teams, leaks, like plenty of stuff. So I'm aware some of this stuff I might be reading is like, might frustrate some people, and people might be like, well, why are you looking so much into this, Jack? But I just think the Monty Williams situation, it's kind of the last major domino to fall before the Pistons can really launch into a full-fledged plan of attack for next season, because we know Cade Cunningham's coming back. We know maybe one or two of the young core could be gone. I kind of tweeted out yesterday that I feel like maybe they might all be staying. It's just a gut feel I have, no reporting, could be completely wrong. But basically, I feel like whatever happens to the roster, like the decision on Monty Williams probably needs to happen before this team starts making roster changes, because if the Pistons are to keep Monty Williams, I would say it's because they're looking to maybe accelerate this thing a bit more quickly, and they're probably going to build the team more in the molds of the teams Monty Williams has had success with in the past. And that's teams like the Phoenix Suns, which had Chris Paul and Devin Booker. That's teams that run heaps of pick and roll. Basically, all the success, or a fair portion of success Monty Williams had in the NBA as a head coach, has come with a point guard like Chris Paul. You give him a role man and you surround him with shooting shot creators. So if they had to keep him, I feel like they go down the path of building a Monty Williams type team with Cade Cunningham at the forefront. If they are not looking to go ahead with Monty Williams and Trajan Langdon decides to go get a younger coach or a coach he likes, that I feel like will signal either the Pistons might be looking to reevaluate their young talent, or I just feel like the shape of the team could look a lot different to what a Monty Williams type team could be. So I think where I want to start with this is this is kind of the catalyst for me doing the episode on Monty today. Was a report we kind of got from Sam Amico of Hoopswire this morning, where he kind of does these almost daily notebooks of rumors and that kind of things based on what other teams' beat writers are reporting, and mixes in some of his own notes there. And there was a portion in here which I know got Pistons fans riled up, and that was when Amico wrote that, and this is a quote: "It is believed that Langdon will give Williams another season, given how Detroit is paying him. But Williams could be on a short leash with Langdon." Now, if you go on Sam's Twitter, you'll see the article there. I might chuck it in the description here. But I want to make sure I'm not taking this too much out of context. But basically, I feel like what this is saying is, I know it's kind of evident here, but to me, this sounds like this kind of reporting is saying, yeah, Monty's going to get next season to prove himself to Langdon. And yeah, he's obviously not going to fire him, but he's going to be on a short leash, and he's going to have to kind of, I don't know, it feels like Monty last season had a whole heap of power within the organization because of that contract and because of the way the front office was set with Troy Weaver not being able to make every decision he wanted to make. Maybe Williams has to be more responsive to Langdon. I'm not sure. He has to play certain players. Not exactly sure of this, but to me, this report goes against kind of everything we've sort of been hearing. James Edwards III, who I'll get to, he mentioned Monty's future in a mailbag article earlier in the week. But basically what we've been told and what's been put out there by beat writers and people close to the team is that Tom Gores has no issue eating the contract of Monty Williams. I think Monty has around 5 years, 60 million remaining, which I think is fully guaranteed. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe that includes some incentives, but he has a heap of money remaining on that deal. But it has been reported by James Edwards the day Weaver was let go and Langdon was hired that Tom Gores and Pistons ownership have no issues eating that salary of Monty Williams if Langdon decides to hire his own coach. So it's very interesting to see that. It makes me question kind of the reporting of Hoopswire here, because it's essentially, to me, looks like what's been reported here is that because of how much the Pistons owe Monty, that's being heavily weighted into the fact that they'll give him another season, which isn't what we've heard at all to date. So maybe something's changed, but I'll be very interested to see in James Edwards' next article or people who cover the team on a daily basis if, there is a reiteration of kind of the Pistons' stance of paying out that remaining deal of Monty's contract, or if the Pistons have changed their tune. So it's going to be really interesting to watch that play out. I kind of think that report's wrong. I think, I just don't buy it. I just don't buy it. I back James Edwards, and clearly, he has extensive connections with the team, and I just kind of back his reporting. So unless I see something from James, Woj, Shams, or some of the best news breakers, I'm going to find it hard to believe that's the case. So I wanted to address that off the top because I know Pistons Twitter and the Pistons community were a bit up in arms about the potential of Monty Williams coming back. I've said I'm not going to be happy about it, but if Monty Williams is to come back and it's because Langdon wants to give Monty another chance and he believes in Monty as a coach, I think I can live with that. But I would not be able to live with Monty coming back because one of the main drivers was how much the Pistons still owe him, especially when we've heard what we've heard. So, I hope that report is kind of wrong or it's being sourced from not the best of sources. So I think that's all I need to say on that. I'm sure people go ahead, drop comments. I'm sure that report this morning kind of fired you up. So I guess the next point I want to hit on, and I forgot to bring this up actually, my little lower third here for you all, but I was meant to bring this up at the start of the episode, but we'll bring it up now. Basically, the next kind of report or piece of information we got yesterday was from Mark Stein, who's a long-time NBA newsbreaker, been in the business for ages. He has his Substack called The Stein Line. And yesterday he noted in one of his articles, which was in relation to the Lakers coaching search, but I'm going to just read out a couple of quotes here and then I'll give you my thoughts. But Stein wrote, JJ Redick and James Borrego have clearly separated themselves as the top two candidates for the LA job. Now, we know that's kind of changed, but there's been some discussion around the league that Detroit Pistons head coach Monty Williams could still potentially surface as a candidate if he is fired by the Pistons. The article later went on to say, Stein noted Detroit's new president of basketball operations, Trajan Langdon, is evaluating the head coach and could decide to move another direction. So this was written yesterday. Clearly, we got the news today from Woj that the Lakers are now heavily invested in Dan Hurley, the coach of UConn. But yesterday, it was Redick and Borrego, and this is where the Monty Williams piece came into it. So it's just based on what we've seen today, I think now this reporting or this article is a little bit dated because it seems like it's either Dan Hurley, JJ Redick, but it's very interesting to hear that Monty could be tied to the Lakers because this isn't the first time we heard it. We heard all the way back before Darvin Ham was let go probably a month ago that, I think Brian Windhorst threw out on ESPN First Take, the Pistons could trade coaches with Monty Williams going to the Lakers and Darvin Ham going to the Pistons. Now, Darvin Ham ultimately got let go. I don't see him joining the Pistons at all, but it's just interesting. This is the second time Monty's been linked to the Lakers. I think Monty clearly fits a more veteran-laden team, a team ready to compete. So it's just something to keep an eye on. And I mean, ultimately, it sounds like the Lakers, Monty isn't in their top candidates, but if the Pistons do decide to let him go, who knows? Not that I really care about the Lakers at all and who coaches them, but the fact this has been mentioned by Brian Windhorst a month ago, and then now it's been mentioned by Mark Stein, two of the biggest kind of insiders and newsbreakers in NBA basketball. Brian Windhorst clearly has I shouldn't say a great relationship with LeBron James, but he's pretty much started his career covering LeBron James and has some good ties there. So LeBron obviously with the Lakers. Very interesting to hear these kind of things. As I said, I don't care if Monty coaches the Lakers or whatever. I'm just bringing this up because of how it's related to the Pistons. And yeah, I mean, which kind of just leads me to my third and final point of today, which is going back to Pistons beat writer James Edwards, to his mailbag earlier in the week, where he responded to a question from a fan on Twitter who asked James, what percentage would you put on Monty returning as coach? And James said, I'm 50-50 on Monty returning. I don't think it's a coincidence that Langdon's introductory press conference hasn't yet been announced and Williams' future is still a swirling question. I don't know this for a fact, but I can imagine Langdon would be I can't imagine Langdon will be trotted out in front of the media until Williams' future is determined one way or another. So I guess once we see a date locked in for Langdon's press conference, I would dare say by that point or not long after, we will know the future of Monty. I back James Edwards III when it comes to these kinds of things. I believe it truly is a 50-50 thing at the moment. And, you know, the interesting thing with the Lakers search is I mentioned James Borrego, and I tweeted about this yesterday. James Borrego coached the Charlotte Hornets for 3 or 4 seasons before he was let go. He was there for LaMelo Ball's rookie season, and in his first 2 seasons there, I'm pretty sure he took the Hornets to the play-in tournament, which, you know, not that exciting, but Borrego was like, I think he's in his mid to late 40s. He's definitely on the younger side. I was surprised the Hornets let him go, especially to bring back Steve Clifford at the time. But Borrego wasn't afraid to bring LaMelo off the bench as a rookie, and LaMelo still won Rookie of the Year in that season. And I think that kind of mentality with player development would actually serve the Pistons quite well in the sense of making players earn their minutes. Doesn't matter where you're taken in the draft, you need to earn your minutes. So I kind of don't mind that. I think whenever you listen to podcasters talk about Borrego or that kind of thing, he seems like a really bright coach who's definitely in line for another head coaching job. And yeah, as I mentioned, or I don't think I mentioned, but he was actually the associate head coach last season with the Pelicans. So there's clearly that link there between Langdon, who was the GM, and Borrego. Now, associate head coach is basically lead assistant, who he was under Willie Green. So just a name to consider, and a guy I think would be kind of perfect for the Pistons job. He kind of reminds me of that Kenny Atkinson type coach, which I think is kind of what the Pistons need ultimately. And we kind of thought Monty was going to be that because of the success here with the Suns. But look, if they part ways with Monty, I'd be very interested in James Borrego as a coach. Now, like I said, didn't actually get them to the playoffs, but those Hornets teams weren't particularly loaded with talent. Obviously, they had Miles Bridges before everything happened with him. I think they had like Malik Monk for a season, LaMelo. I think they had like Mason Plumlee, who the Pistons traded there. But look, they were kind of, for them to make the play-in was kind of the ceiling, I felt like, on those teams. So I think he'd be a good young coach to help this team transition from worst team in the league to play-in potentially. Maybe he is a future kind of playoff mastermind type coach. We don't know. But he's young, which I also like, and has had some head coaching experience, but is, you know, I feel like ready for another opportunity. So just wanted to throw that name out there. And if you'd like, go look at my Twitter. There's some more information on there. But there has been no official report about Borrego and the Pistons. That was just me kind of connecting some dots. And especially now that we've seen the news about Dan Hurley being a favorite for the Lakers job, that kind of, in my eyes, pushes Borrego back to at least third on their list behind Redick and Hurley. So Borrego, yeah, I feel like he's clearly looking for a head coaching job, and the Pistons might need a head coach very soon. So let me know your thoughts on that. That's kind of, I feel like I've covered everything in the past few days on Monty Williams. Yeah, it feels, as James said, like it's a 50-50 thing in the air right now. I kind of feel like I know most people's thoughts on Monty. It feels like the fan base wants a new coach, and I don't blame any of you for that. But yeah, that's all the news. That's everything I've got for you guys today. Typically, Fridays have been the day we hear about some breaking news. So maybe I'll be back tomorrow covering some news about Monty Williams or the Pistons. But as always, until then, let me know your thoughts and go Pistons.